And I think it's a lot to do with what's around the stadiums. The fact that there's nowhere really for the fans to hang out. There's no bars. There's no restaurants. There's not a lot of food on for offer. So there's no incentive for the fans actually to hang around and so atmosphere or create more of an atmosphere post a match.
Let's talk Morocco, who are going to see 4 years. How many Moroccan fans have travelled? Do you know?
I actually know that it's definitely going to be more than 5,000, and I also know that there's a diaspora of at least 15,000, which is about half of 30,000, which is what Tunisia has. So I think there's going to be less Moroccans from the diaspora than Tunisia had yesterday, but there are more traveling fans than Tunisia brought over. Still should be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the picture now. It looks a great atmosphere, and the Moroccan fans around this morning were creating a great atmosphere, and but that's a huge fan base for them to have here supporting them, and it could make a difference. I mean, we saw it with Saudi Arabia yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things we maybe underlooked coming into this tournament is the advantage of playing at home, quote unquote. I even read a study last week that said when you play at home, there's a 3% increase in testosterone. So there's even a physiological element to it, on top of the pressure from the fans and maybe the referee being slightly influenced. So I think it's not a coincidence that the last time in Africa hosted World Cups was the last time we had the best results for any of those nations. Of course, South Korea going to the semifinal in 2002, and Ghana being a kick away from the semifinal in 2010. So we'll see if it's the same thing in this tournament.
What would you say are the hopes for Morocco?
Yeah, Morocco know that they're not favorites, but they have players with specific world-class skill sets in different positions. Yassine Bounou is a Zamora Trophy winner in La Liga. He was the best goalkeeper in La Liga last year. They have Hakim Ziyech, who we know can provide one of the best key passes in the final third of the pitch of any player in world football. And they have Ashraf Hakimi, who we joke in Morocco has a third lung, which he bombs up and down the pitch. So, honestly, they believe that they have the quality to go up against anyone, even if they know that they're playing against, the finalists of the last World Cup, who will be favorites.
What has been the effect on them in changing their coach just 3 months before a World Cup?
Yeah, so they fired Vahid Halilhodzic, a Bosnian coach, who I often like to say likes to be the co-pilot of his operation. And they brought in somebody who's more of a federator, somebody that's more of a unifier, Walid Regragui, who, like Senegal's Aliou Cisse, is one of the hottest young coaches in Africa. So he's young, obviously, so he relates more to his players. He's a great tactical manager, and he's won stuff. Last year with Wydad Casablanca, he won a brace. He won the league and Champions League title. So I'll give you an example of how he's more of a federator and a unifier. Two of Morocco's best players are both right backs. Ashraf Hakimi, who plays at Paris Saint-Germain, Noussair Mazraoui, who plays at Bayern Munich. And the first thing that Walid Regragui did when he got the job was he sat them both down and talked to them and said, okay, I want you both on the pitch. Who wants to play where? And as Noussair Mazraoui from Bayern Munich raised his hand and he said, I'd like to be on the left. And since then, he's actually done very well, even winning man of the match in one of the pre-World Cup friendlies. So it's kind of a different way of operating, and it seemed to work for Morocco so far.
Lots of excitement and belief that Morocco could go on and win their very first game in over 20 years at the World Cup. Is this the moment for Morocco this World Cup?
Yeah, historically, Morocco haven't really been intimidated by some of the footballing traditional powerhouses. They've had good results in World Cups against the likes of West Germany, against England as well. Some of you remember back in 1986.
Yeah.
So the problem with Morocco in general isn't that they've struggled against better opposition, it's that they've sometimes played down to weaker opposition in World Cups, which is probably a concentration issue. So Moroccan fans won't be intimidated by playing against Croatia or Belgium. More superstitious fans will be scared that they'll draw against Belgium, draw against Croatia, and then lose against Canada. That would be a typical Moroccan experience at the World Cup.
Just going back to Regragui, and the wider point here is the African countries, all 5 of them here have homegrown head coaches, which is huge, isn't it?
It's absolutely massive. And with Regragui and with Cisse, they follow a new blueprint in African football. In African football, traditionally, I would say about a decade or two ago, there would be this European coaching carousel where we'd have, 60-year-old Western Europe, 60-plus-year-old Western European coaches bouncing around from country to country, making their 20,000 euros per month and just being bored with it all. What we have now is these young former internationals. Regragui played 40 times for Morocco. Cisse was the captain of Senegal in 2002. In Algeria, we have Jamal Belmadi. In Mali, we have Eric Sekouchele. In Guinea, we have Kaba Diawara, and the list goes on and on. Benny McCarthy in South Africa is going to be probably taking hold of the South African national team coach. So there's a new blueprint of giving former internationals jobs, and they seem to be living up to the expectations. They're doing a great job.
So is the danger then a bit like for African players who move to the European continent and build their careers in the main on the European continent? Is the danger? Sorry, go on.
No, so I was just going to say, we still haven't had an African coach start their coaching career in Africa and go to Europe and coach in a top 5 league. We have had some go to Denmark, for example. The Ghana's assistant coach, Didi Germani, coached Nordsjælland for a year. We've had some in Austria, but we haven't really had them even in France, where there's a lot of links. Walid Regragui is French Moroccan, and I don't anticipate that happening in the next few years, but I do think over the next decade we'll start to see some of that happening. Honestly, I think it's a win-win situation. I think some of these coaches have the ambition to get into club football as well, and they won't be able to do that at the level that they want to in Africa. And at the same time, them starting off their careers with their national teams, I think is a great motivational boost, and I think the national teams are benefiting from it as well.
Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think it hasn't happened as yet?
Well, some of it is honestly down to paperwork. So many people don't know this, but to coach in Europe's top 5 leagues, you need something called the UEFA Pro license or an equivalent. So in Asia, you have the AFC Pro license, and these programs in CONMEBOL in South America and Europe and Asia, they were launched 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago in Europe. In Africa, we only had a CAF Pro license launched in 2018. So just a few years ago, really. So for a long period of time, the Confederation of African Football didn't provide a pathway for African coaches to really get their foot in the door. I mean, a lot of these coaches were not simply qualified. A European club couldn't hire them even if they wanted to. So that's honestly been one of the biggest issues for African coaches. Now there is a CAF Pro license program in place, and I think by hiring these young coaches and giving them like platforms like this World Cup, I think a lot of people are opening their eyes and seeing that a lot of these African coaches are good enough and now they're qualified enough to perhaps take on a European club job.
So you said it was win-win. So if Regragui has a good World Cup and gets Morocco into the knockout stages, for example, and is then offered a club job in Europe, is that a good thing, or does that weaken Morocco?
Yeah, I think it's probably a case-by-case basis, Mark. For somebody like Regragui, he just took the job. So for him, I think Moroccan fans would like to see him at least take over for an African Cup of Nations run as well. But for somebody like Aliou Cisse, let's say Senegal are eliminated from this World Cup in the group stages of the round of 16. He's won an African Cup of Nations with Senegal. He's taken them to 2 World Cups. He's done pretty much everything that he could have. I think nobody in Senegal would hold a grudge or begrudge him if he decided to take a job in one of Europe's top 5 leagues, because they also understand that would be a trailblazing move and he'd be opening the door for a lot of people behind him.
Lovely to talk to you, Maher. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Maher Metahi, North African football journalist. The teams are in the tunnel in our first of 4 games today. So later on, let's work backwards. Belgium.
This production persona e della casa, come i profumatori Glade adatti ad ogni ambiente. Scopra.
bomba di calore. Con Daikin puoi riscaldare casa riducendo i consumi fino al 50% rispetto alle tradizionali caldaie.
Of the World Cup so far.
وليد الرقرقي، منير الكجوي، أحمد رضا، زقنوتي، يحيى أيت، الله، جواد اليميك، بدر بن أشرف ديري، بلال الخنوس، يحيى جبران، عبد الحميد صبيري، عبد الرزاق، أبو خلال، إلياس الشعير، عبد الصمد الزلزولي، وليد جديرة، أنس زروري.
With 3 penalties for the national team this year already. Believe that they can get some out to this game. Tent-like structure built as a tribute to the nomadic tents. It's got this fiberglass membrane that covers the outside of it. You're at this stadium, you know you're not in Europe, Stephen. This looks very, very different to what you get around the Champions League.
Yeah, phenomenal stadium. It looks absolutely magnificent, and you can tell the detail that has gone into it. What a stadium, what an occasion.
So about to get started, Morocco, who are wearing the red shirts, red socks, green shorts, get us underway. They are playing from left to right, very much the sun in the eyes of the Moroccan defenders and goalkeeper in the first half. There's a shadow that's covering almost half the pitch from one end to the other, but in the goalkeeper's eyes at the moment, and certainly for the early stages of this game, that sun will be beaming in. And Croatia, who I always think back to Russia 4 years ago, so many of their big games came when they were wearing their chain strip, all black. But they're back in what is officially their first choice kit, the white with the little almost polka dot red tablecloth almost design on it, and possession with Dejan Lovren, who played all 7 games of the last World Cup as Croatia got to the final. But there's no doubt that he is the one man who, if you were to go back sort of 2 months ago and you would think, would Lovren still be starting for Croatia, it didn't look likely. It was even a question mark as to whether he would be in the squad. But here he is, and he starts, and he is an experienced player, Stephen, and Croatia might need that alongside Guardiola, who's talented, but who's only got 12 caps.
Yeah, he'll be a great voice alongside Guardiola. I think it'll be important for him to have that experience alongside him.
First attack of the game. So the left back tries to charge down the left wing, but he's beaten to it, and the ball shepherded out. And behind that goal, the Moroccan fans, and the chap has mentioned it there, the atmosphere that has been created by the Arab and the African nations, especially, who are, owning this tournament as being so close to many of the North African countries and into the Middle East. And a point that was made there in the build-up, all the African nations at this tournament, they've got coaches of their own nationality. In the past, it was bringing in foreign coaches and maybe some older guys who've done it in the past. I think that adds to the sense of ownership that these countries now have got their own coaches.
It certainly does. I think it's hugely important. I think that it connects the fans to the team even more, which is huge for the supporters. But one thing that's changed in the years leading into the World Cups is the difference in when you think about where the players are now playing. The players are now playing within the European best leagues, and that is hugely important. That's why we're seeing the gap close as well with the team playing against each other, and I think that is massive.
The opening stages of this game, Morocco 0, Croatia 0. Croatia in possession with Luka Modric. It's a lovely pass down the right wing, a narrow corridor where he was able to pick out the pass to Juranovic. His cross comes in, takes to the flank, and bounces into the arms of Yassine Bono, the Seville goalkeeper who was in the squad for Morocco 4 years ago but didn't get to make an appearance at Russia 2018. So this is his first taste of World Cup action. A player who's done very well with his club Sevilla in Spain in recent times. He was the first Arab to win the Zamora Trophy last season, which is the award they give in Spain to the goalkeeper who concedes the fewest goals per game's ratio. As Hakimi comes forward down the right-hand side for Morocco, and then a strong challenge comes in on the halfway line, and Croatia regain possession once again. Kovacic moves the ball onto Nikola Vlasic. The whistles you hear in the background from the Moroccan fans who thought they might have had a free kick there.
Yeah, they certainly did, but it was a strong tackle. It was a well-contested tackle, and Croatia came away with the ball. But straight away, you can just see the intensity in which both teams are closing each other down. We've seen great starts within the World Cup so far, and this looks like a very good start from both teams.
Ball goes out of play for a throw into Croatia down the right-hand side. Juranovic to take, playing with the sun on his back. The House Stadium is the translation of the Al Bat, second largest venue to be used at this World Cup, as Marcelo Brozovic rolls the ball back to the halfway line to Dejan Lovren. And here is Josko Gvardiol, who's been making big waves with Leipzig since moving to Germany this year. Here's Ivan Perisic controlling it on the left wing, under pressure from Hakimi, and his attempted pass back goes out of play, and Hakimi will feel he's won that first battle between those two.
That will be a battle. That'll be a fantastic battle between the two players. Hakimi loves to get forward, loves to sort of overlap and drive forward with the ball. Croatia are in.
And this is a chance, almost for Kramaric, and good sweeping defending as Roman Saiz, the former Wolves player, swept in front of Kramaric. There was no danger here. There shouldn't have been. A throw into Morocco in the right full-back position, but they gave it away on the edge of the penalty area, and Kramaric, accelerating in, was a whisker away from getting there. He's, well, a huge sigh of relief for Morocco as that goes out for the corner.
Yeah, he's furious, Saiz. He does so well to recover into position, because you think Kramaric is just going to unleash a shot, and thankfully Saiz was alert to the situation, but run under his foot, and You just cannot allow that to happen so early on in the game.
Edge of the penalty area. Guardiola was lurking there. It was a rehearsed move for Croatia. An attempt to clear the ball by Amala. He almost kicked it off his own face. He tried a little bicycle kick away. Modric picks it up on the edge of the D. Two defenders right in front of him. There's no room for a shot. And then for the relief of Morocco, they managed to get it onto it on the edge of the 0-0.
But one thing Croatia straight away will look to use is Guardiola. Set left centre-half position. He's the one who wins the ball. And then they keep it alive within the box. It's just bouncing round the box. It's like a pinball. Finally, Morocco get to clear the ball away from danger.
Right, so 0-0 between Morocco and Croatia here at the World Cup in Qatar. Some breaking news, though, on 5 Live. In the last few moments, the Supreme Court has ruled that Scotland cannot hold a referendum on independence without the permission of the British government. We'll go through what this means for the Union and the Scottish independence movement at half-time. But the breaking news on 5 Live is that the Supreme Court has ruled that Scotland cannot hold another referendum on independence without the permission of the British government. More on that as we get it here on BBC Radio 5 Live. In the city of Khor, 35 kilometres away from Doha, Roman size his possession on the left-hand side of defence for Morocco. Gives it on to Boufal, who's got a couple of step-overs. This is as far up the field as Morocco have been in the game. Amala into the penalty area, tries to get it onto his right boot. No space there, and Bjorna Sosa clears away for Croatia. First attack that Morocco have mustered, and Croatia did very well to get plenty of bodies back behind the ball. It's been a good open game, played at a fast tempo as Croatia bring it up to the halfway line again, 0-0.
That was the best we've seen from Morocco, switching the ball from right to left, and then Amala finds himself in a position on the edge of the box, drops the shoulder, cuts inside on his right hand side, and you're thinking he's going to put it into the far corner. He's just muscled out of it. It's the best passage of play we've seen from Morocco, who've sat quite deep in this game. It's a heavy challenging.
Marcelo Brozovic, can't he? He doesn't take many prisoners when it comes to a 50-50 challenge. Selim Amala stretching for the ball, but once Brozovic lunged, he was going to win it, but he had to be careful. Stephen was not to be reckless. The referee gives the free kick, but no further action.
Yeah, it's that follow through on his ankle that just catches Amala. He sort of holds in the ground and goes over on it. Thankfully, he's back on his feet and the game resumes.
8 minutes played. Morocco 0, Croatia 0 at the World Cup. In the past, whenever Croatia have won their opening game at a World Cup finals, they've always gone on to reach at least the semi-finals. They hope for a good start against their African opponents here as Ziyech. That's not a great cross-field pass from him. He's given it straight to Juranovic over the far side. Juranovic back into the centre with Dejan Lovren just had to step on the gas. He was under pressure from the Syrian. There's a very high press from Morocco here, and Ziyech has been over-enthusiastic in that regard. He has fouled Guardiola, but you can see that Morocco have decided they're going to try and get at Guardiola and put pressure on them on the edge of their own penalty area, and so far it's kind of working.
It is, and that was a brilliant press, and the ball from Lovren wasn't the greatest of balls into Guardiola, and he puts him under pressure. He talked about his stature and his size before. Brilliant feet from him, just releases the ball under the pressure of Ziyech and draws the foul in. But we look at the
Luka Modric, who had just dropped into a pocket of space, spinning up all over the top, looking for Nikola Vlasic. It was a difficult one to control. Sun in his eyes as well. It bounced off his upper thigh, and it goes out for a goal kick. But Modric always playing with the head up, always with that radar scanning. And Morocco will have to be very wary of balls in behind the central defenders from Modric.
I was saying before, Connor, about the European, or the players now playing in Europe's top leagues, and you see the difference in the way that they're approaching games to previous World Cups. Now they believe they can go and press high because tactically they're so much better than they were. Probably, I'm going back to Italia 90 when you think of Cameroon first coming into it. Were they really playing within a structure? Probably not.
There's no doubt there's plenty of structure for Morocco. They cruised through their qualifying campaign. They won 6 games out of 6, and they only conceded 1 goal in the group stage proper. They did concede once they got into the playoff round, but I mean, 1 goal conceded in qualifying just shows how watertight this defence has been. I mean, I know West Ham United fans are going to be intrigued to watch Naif Gerd, who's making his 27th cap here, joined West Ham in the summer. They spent a lot of money on him, over £30 million, injured straight away in pre-season. And West Ham fans only just saw a little glimmer of him before it all stopped for the World Cup. But he's a player who's been so important for Morocco, and second half of the season could be so important for David Moyes to West Ham.
Yeah, and I think it's something that West Ham need to sort out, is the defensive vulnerabilities as Morocco win the ball back.
Get pressure again, but yes, and this high press is really causing problems at the back for Croatia. Guardiola's been able to shovel it away for a throw-in, but Ziyech has got a smile on his face, and they can taste blood, Morocco. They've snapped out a few times at these Croatian defenders, and they're beginning to see how it's rattling them, and I think this is only going to enthuse Morocco to press even more.
Absolutely. We talked about Ziyech before the game, and we haven't seen the best from him that we saw at his days at Ajax, with them playing at Chelsea now. He looks really up for this game. He's pressing high, he's pressing with intent, he's winning the ball back. But for a good interception from Guardiola, he would have put in Nasseri, and it would have been a breakthrough at Morocco. But you can see the belief just in the Moroccan players. They believe they can press up Croatia and get something out of this.
24 years since Morocco last won a World Cup game, but they have started this one well. Here is Ziyech. Difficult one to control, right up against the touchline. He was unlucky there. The long pass came, he allowed it to bounce, and this firm surface on the Albat pitch, it really did spring up, and then it became a difficult one to try and control with his head, and it went out of play for the Croatia throw.
Yeah, difficult one. Just had to go and try and meet the ball and take it on the full, but probably trying to keep an eye on both the ball and the defender.
So 0-0 with 12 minutes played. This is the first of 4 World Cup games we're bringing you today on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Bodo, the goalkeeper, comes out wearing all blue, rolls the ball short for the West Ham United player wearing the white boots. He passes it low to his right-hand side to Achraf Hakimi. Back in again to Agerd. And this is the first time that Morocco have tried a slow build-up in the game. But and eventually that doesn't last very long, because Saiz pumps it down the left wing. It's controlled by Boufal. 6 goals in his last 13 games for Morocco. He springs infield, launches across, high, looking for Achraf Hakimi, who nods it down. Ziyech controlled brilliantly on the edge of the area, but his shot comes off the heel of Dejan Lovren. Morocco are really going for this here. Hakimi picks up the loose ball, crosses on the right-hand side, deflects off Sosa. It actually rebounded towards the goal, and Livakovic had to get down well to make a save to the left-hand side. But it's all Morocco at the moment, 0-0.
What a start to the game this is. Belief from Morocco that they can take the game to Croatia. It starts with a great ball from Saiz over the top, and Boufal taking his man on. Hakimi, the opposite fullback, getting forward and making sure that he gives them an option. And then he just cannot get the ball out of his feet enough, Ziyech, to get the shot in on goal. But this is constant pressure from Morocco.
Ziyech's control initially was very good, but he was swarmed by defenders inside that penalty area, and he couldn't just open up a view of the goal to get the shot through. More defending for Morocco to do here, as again put under pressure by Luka Modric. Furthest up the field we've seen Modric, and that after it's forced the ball out of play, it'll be a throw into Croatia. Perisic arrives quickly to take it, the number 4 on his back. He's got a fantastic record at major tournaments, Ivan Perisic. Now, here's Modric, steps into the penalty area, outside of the right boot, spins in across, but it flashes through a whole host of players, and Mizrahi will pick it up in the left-back position, and he plays a calming ball back to Roman Saiz, and Morocco were able to get it away. That, Stephen, was the first time we saw Luka Modric in around the penalty area, and he's always so creative, and he felt like a little step over, the injection of pace, and he nearly created something there.
Well, Amrabat's been like a battering ram early on in this game, but he gets nowhere near Luka Modric. Little step over, in the dummy, and then he puts his head on his hands as if to say, hands on his head as if to say, why are you not in there? You know I'm going to beat the man, trust me. And Kramaric was just waiting on the edge of the penalty box for the cross, and the pullback. Have to get in there when Modric is on the ball. He will find you.
37 years of age now, Luka Modric, but in that position where he goes from a standstill to accelerate past the defender, he still has that yard of pace. It was his own teammates by surprise there.
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? We're always glowing about him. We're talking about him in the highest regard constantly. At 37 years of age now, we're still talking about his ability to sidestep and go past players. the big question is can he still do it in the 85th minute? I think that's the question now that you'll be asking later on in the game.
Luka Modric, 156th cap today, and he becomes here the first player to play in both the World Cup and the Euros in 3 different decades. No one has ever done that in world football before. What a career Luka Modric has had, and he's hoping that this month in Qatar might end up being the crowning glory of it. Cleverly left there by Modric as the ball went out of play. He knew it was going to be a throw into Croatia, attacking position down the right-hand side. There are a lot of Croatia fans here, but massively outnumbered by their Moroccan counterparts. But a good atmosphere, plenty of red in the stadium as it features prominently in both nations' flags. Here's Modric again, picking a pass down the right wing to Juranovic, but he can't feed it infield to Vlasic. Possession picked up by Amala. That's a good smart turn to get away from Brozovic, but then a dreadful pass to Perisic, and Perisic shoots the keeper off his line, and he goes from 15 yards out nearly, and he tries to clip it over, but it just rises, and Bono was backpedaling, and Mala's the most relieved man in the stadium because he gave the ball away there at Perisic. It wasn't a lofted lob. He tried to drill it over the goalkeeper, and it wasn't too far away at all. 0-0 it remains.
What a beautiful strike from Perisic. Hits it so sweetly. And you know, when you look at the ball and you see the movement on the ball, there's barely any movement on it. It's struck so well. As you say, Amala will be so thankful. He does so well just to beat his man. Jinks inside and then just so lazy with the pass after it.
No surprise that Croatia do so well in international football. They've got the skill, they've got the guile, but they've got the toughness too, as Lovren takes no chances inside his own penalty area. 2 players sprinting in to pressure him, El Nasiri and Ziyech, and Lovren for a moment thought, whoa, I'm in trouble here, and he just blasted it out for a throw-in. So Morocco may remain on the attack on the right-hand side. Morocco 0, Croatia 0. The World Cup on the BBC as Hakimi rolls it in towards the edge of the penalty area. Unahi is able to fit out. He's a player to look out for. Loves a dribble. That's a really good cross. Played in by Ziyech, and he just couldn't get a touch on the far post. Thumbs up from El Nasiri. He knows that was a devilish cross, but lovely movement from Ziyech and almost pinpoint with the delivery. That's actually the best chance of the game so far, 0-0.
It is, and it was lovely play between Hakimi and Ziyech down that right-hand side. The ball in, swinging in with the left foot, and as you say, El Nasiri at the back post, so close to getting on the end of it, just a fraction away. He'd beaten Lovren in the air. Well, keep on saying it though, Morocco, they are the form team.
Here's Boufal, tries to turn on the edge of the area, might still be alive for Unahi, somehow still alive for Amala, and then it's Luka Modric who nips in and wins possession inside his own penalty area and dribbles it out of the box. They're so intricate, Morocco, in around the penalty area. They've got confidence. Here is Hakimi. Plays a 1-2 on the edge of the tee. Goes down. And a free kick in a shooting position. Dangerous position here for Morocco. And Croatia feeling the temperature of the moment in Qatar. 19 minutes played. Morocco 0, Croatia 0.
Well, Morocco running over the topper of Croatia at the moment. They're just finding it far too easy to pick up second balls and win those challenges, those duels. They get behind. We talked before the game about the experience of Croatia's midfield, but so far it's been Morocco's midfield that have won that battle.
It was Modric who committed the foul. He was late, stepping down on the instep of Achraf Hakimi. But this is a pinpoint position for a free kick. It is bang center of the target. Goalkeeper will have to make a decision here what side he wants to put the wall, because if you're to draw a direct line from the goal line through the penalty spot, that is where the free kick is, but outside the D. Nice distance. There's enough room to get it up and over the wall and down again. And Hakim Ziyech, 18 international goals. He's touching the ball here. Hakimi might want to have a say as well as a right-footed option, but this looks good for the left boot of Hakim Ziyech, the first attacking free kick of the game. Croatia are going to put down a draft excluder. Marcelo Brozovic is lying on the ground behind the wall. That will allow his teammates to jump, but they have erected a very wide wall here as the goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic tries to cover as much space as he can. Big moment in the game. 20 minutes played. Some Moroccans trying to go in and cause an obstruction in front of the wall as well, trying to block the view of the goalkeeper. It is Ziyech. It is into the wall, which stands firm and does its job. And Croatia breathe a big collective sigh of relief as the ball is pumped back in by Amrabat and then hooked away by Luka Modric, who's arguably been his best defender in his team. He certainly made the most tackles of the game so far. Croatia's for a counter, and this is an opportunity. Kramaric tries to break into the penalty area. Amrabat worked really hard to get back. And then as Vlasic came to arrive, he was tackled as the ball came to him. Good challenge by Mazraoui, and the ball goes out for a corner. It is head-to-head, Stephen. It is still 0-0, but Croatia nearly pouncing on the counter-attack there.
Yeah, but one thing you saw with Kramaric up front, he did not have the pace to go beyond Amrabat. Amrabat just sat deep, said, go on, take me on, see if you've got the pace to do it. He doesn't, and that will give confidence to Morocco now to play an even higher line and to close those gaps.
Second corner of the game. A few Croatian players have gone into a little huddle around the penalty spot. I'm sure they'll all spring away in different directions now. Guardiola is up there. Lovren too, the two central defenders. Bono is waving his arms to his teammates. Here comes the delivery. Kramaric tries to flick it onto the front post. It wasn't a great ball in from Luka Modric, actually, by his very high standards. The ball is still in play. Buffal has gone down. Referee hasn't hold up play. Kramaric, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Plays it back to Guardiola. He plays it into the penalty area, repelled away by Mazraoui, but Croatia come again. Vlasic to Modric, right-footed cross comes in and it's not great, and it's cleared away, and then a good sliding challenge by Guardiola will hold on to possession to Croatia, but they are back now inside the centre circle once again. We're midway through the first half, 0-0. BBC Radio 5 Live, also BBC Sounds, and across Africa on BBC World Service. Morocco have started well here against the finalists last time out, Croatia. As Kovacic of Chelsea rolls it back to the former Liverpool defender, Dejan Lovren, wearing orange boots. To his left-hand side is Josko Guardiola, who's got the protective headgear on, and that must be sweltering in the heat of Qatar to have to wear that, not just a sort of rugby-style scrum cap, but his face as well. He looks like a character out of a Batman movie or something down there, protecting his damaged face. And that must be, well, he's been wearing it for a long time now, so he'll be used to it. But, coming into those latter stages of the game, that must be an irritant. As Hakimi has possession, the Paris Saint-Germain right back. Poor ball by him. Straight to Perisic, who rolls it to the right-hand side. Vlasic wasn't ready for the pass to go. Brilliant tackle comes in from Mazraoui, and Morocco will work their way into the Croatian half once again with Sofiane Buffal. A calming ball backwards, and we can all take a breath, but 0-0 with 23 minutes played.
Yeah, you just saw a moment of lapse of concentration from Hakimi, but the pressure that his teammates put on the ball to win it back straight away, what they've realised is they do not want to give the Croatian players time to pick the heads up, pick a pass, because they realise there's immense quality within their team. I've been so impressed with Morocco so far.
Really good attitude, real positivity. They've decided that they are going to go for it.